Yeah, Alex, last year, interceptions were such a big part of the success defensively. Haven't seen those pile up this year. What do you see that's keeping those numbers down? Is it positioning? Is it something else? And do you feel like those things are going to come on that, especially in the back end of your defense?
Yeah, no, I think you're always optimistic that they're going to come. Number one being top down, number two having disciplined eyes, and number three being competitive at the catch point. And at times we do all those things, and there's been other instances where all you have to do is catch the ones that they throw you. And so we've had some of those that we haven't secured, and so certainly disappointed that way in our inability to do each and every one of those things at any level of consistency. And so, no, do you believe it's going to come? Yeah, you believe it's going to come. That's why you practice every single day. It'd be no different if a quarterback's throwing incompletions and that. You say, okay, what do? You throw work at it. You throw practice at it. And then obviously you evaluate too, okay, what can you do to put the guys in a better situation to be successful? That's what, again, they practice, we coach. They got to catch it, but we got to coach. Okay, how do we improve their eyes? Is it playing more zone? Is it playing more man? Is it getting them closer to the receivers, or is it putting them in space to have disciplined eyes? Or is it simply, the ball's completely on the hash, we should have someone on the hash, where is he? And it's a bust. I go back to actually talked about this defensively. I'll share is just Trey Norwood a year ago when he's the hash dropper. He got a pick on the hash mark, 10 yards deep against Baylor when he was what we call a widen guy or a numbers guy. One of the coaching points is to deepen. Well, he got an interception as he widened and deepened in the Big 12 game against Iowa State. He's a slide post technique, working RPO game against Texas Tech last year. And twice was rewarded for tip balls, but he's playing his technique. It's just interesting when guys are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. There's a consistent pattern in that as well. But again, you still got to finish the play. So, no, it's been extremely disappointed in the lack of takeaways. I don't want to go down this road and say we're back to being that unit that can't get them. It's not a can't, we just haven't, specifically last week. And so you throw work at it and keep grinding.
Alex, I don't want to say like one game can break someone, but is there any extra pep talk or anything with Billy Bowman after you move him, and the move probably didn't go the way that you guys all hoped?
Yeah, no, I think it's part of being a young DB. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are first-round draft picks that maybe whether it's in their first college game or they had some tough Saturdays as true freshmen. One of the consistent things, part of some of the issues over the last couple of weeks, one of the consistencies has been true freshmen, and that's part of it. And what we need to do is do a better job all around those guys, and really analyze it not based on it's a disappointing play, you're disappointed in the outcome of the play. Okay, number one, what can you do to either fix the issue or enhance where you had the catch point? And so in both instances, he's at the catch point. Can you be better early in the down to be in a more attacking manner as opposed to slight trail? But it's not an instance of just simply turning the guy loose. And then leverage on it. It doesn't matter if you're a nickel or you're linebacker, corner, safety. When it comes to screen principles, you got to turn the ball back to the inside. And so it's something so simple in some respects, but difficult for a young player, and it's part of it. It's what you. Unfortunately, you sign up for the good stuff and you sign up for the bad stuff, and we'll coach him through that. And our confidence level in Billy is as high as it ever is, and has been. And so he's going to be a great player here.
Yeah, Alex, guys like Bryson Washington, Josh Eaton, Jordan Mukes, are they getting close to being able to contribute more?
I think getting closer. I think in some instances you talk about these last two recruiting classes. The group came in during the pandemic. In terms of just the uniqueness of that, I guess that would have been the 20 class, and then the 2021 class. If you're trying to obviously bring true freshmen along, and saying okay they're not ready 8 games into their freshman season, that's a fairly consistent pattern everywhere. But on the same note, with the depth situation that we have right now. Which in so many ways can be a real positive. We got some older guys in the program. There's the extremes. There's the old experience, and then there's a freshman / redshirt freshman behind him. And so it's stacking days, it's stacking practices, it's taking advantage of the work that they do get, whether it's on special teams on Saturday. And so closer, yes. But ultimately, again, on the field, there's a trust element that has to be there, and that's something that we're still working towards.
Yeah, Alex, with, I guess how much stunning you guys do up front in the defensive line, do we all kind of take for granted the choreography, I guess, for lack of a better word, that goes into that, and how it can really mess some things up if maybe one guy's off?
Yeah, no, I think, I'd like to think that it is choreographed in a manner that is, designed. It's still a single gap defense. It's not designed just for disruption, and we'll just, where we end up is we stun a lot. We don't have a lot of stunts. There's not 7 different, 8, 9, 10 different patterns that the guys have to do. And we all really like those stunts when we get 10 TFLs and we get 5 sacks or 9 sacks and 15 TFLs and some of the days that we've had around this place. And then all of a sudden when you have 0 sacks and 4 TFLs, obviously it's because we stunt. And I push back on that. I think anything that we do is designed to get in the backfield. If we're on the line of scrimmage, where do we go straight? Where do we stunt? There's going to be an issue. If you look at any type of our inability to defend the run this past week, had very little to do with guys not being in their appropriate gaps. It's just not making a play through that gap or being willing to be blocked. And that's something that we've talked at length about. You can't again pat yourself on the back and say, look at the success rate that we had in terms of getting in the backfield and getting TFLs and getting sacks, and all of a sudden when it doesn't work, they say, well, that wasn't my fault. That obviously was just a bad call defense. And sometimes there are bad calls, don't get me wrong. That's part of it too. But no, we believe in it, and it's something we'll continue to do.
You could say you guys like the scheme, like the packages you're using against certain teams, but what my question was about assisting the defensive backs that are young, that are inexperienced, that might not know what they're doing or know what the call is or whatever. Can you dial up some more pressure? Can you dial up different blitzes? Can you play less zone, more zone? Something different to assist those guys.
Sure, and in some ways we have and will continue to do all those things. Some of it is tied into the success rate in terms of stopping the run. If you can get, making sure you got enough hats, and you look at, okay, is the quarterback involved? To put an extra guy on top of, one of your, DBs, so safety on top of a corner is one less guy you got in the run fit. And so, and what manner does are you doubling that individual? Or is it someone in the post to help on certain route concepts, or is it someone outside the numbers in case it's a fade ball? In some ways it'd be easier to say, okay, well, if this was the one issue was they just don't know what to do, then it's obviously a coaching issue. I think less of it is a knowing or knowledge. It's an execution issue. Sometimes when things are supposed to speed up, it slows down for a young guy, and I don't mean slow down in a good way. I mean slow down in a bad way. You're at that moment, when things are supposed to speed up, there's that moment of pause, and that can be the difference in making a play or not making a play. But no, it's difficult, in college football these days to have extra guys defending the pass, and some guys do it different ways. There's 3 safety schemes, rushing 3. It's also, do you believe you can get pressure with 4 as opposed to blitzing? If you blitz, are you playing man behind it? Well, that obviously goes back to the first thing. Now you got less guys that could possibly help. So it's everything. It's all those things that you're looking at, and it's a fair question and one we can consistently ask ourselves. But what typically happens, again, when you get the results that you want, you love the scheme, you love the call, you love the play. When you don't get the results you want, then obviously the scheme is awful. You should have played in man. If they complete a pass in zone, which they did in a cover 2 scene, I wish we were in man on that. If they completed a vertical and we happen to be in man, I wish we were in cover 2. If they ran the ball man, I wish we would have blitzed the big game. That's just, and so you got to look at it. And but again, I'll say it again. It's a fair question to ask, and one we ask ourselves all the time, and something we continue to analyze.
Alex, sometimes when we look at a game, we just look at stats, and we just, we see big plays, but we don't know why the big plays happen. When you evaluated the performance against TCU, how well did your secondary play, and how well did the defense play overall?
I think sometimes the stats don't tell the story, sometimes they do, and then I think in this particular case they very much did. Explosive plays through the air, very disappointing in those. It's very difficult to play good enough defense if one play goes for 75 yards, and you look at that and like, good Lord, how on earth do we let that happen? And there's reasons. And in the end, someone makes a play. Okay, well, it doesn't mean it has to be a touchdown. You look at a screen and you say, well, geez, we practice so many screens and make such an emphasis of it. But if you don't leverage the football, it's going to turn into an explosive play. And so, no, I think it tells the story, and I don't know if I'd feel better or worse to tell you something different, but it absolutely does. You get one takeaway. The odds of you playing a lead defense are very, that puts stress on you from a defensive standpoint. You give explosive plays through the air. We tackled very poorly. I don't know the last time in my career I've been a part of 0 sacks. and somebody will probably find the stat and remind me. And 4 TFLs. If you're not getting any impact from your defensive front, one that we have championed a lot around this place and been excited about, and obviously give the explosive through the air, it in no way, shape, or form is a performance that we can defend and make a spin from a positive standpoint, made enough plays to win the game, and it's a one-game evaluation. It wasn't good enough, but it was good enough to get a win.
Coach, I'll admit this is probably an oversimplification, but I'm just curious. Every team's different. Every offense is different. I know you're prepared for different offenses, but pre-snap motion, is that something that is difficult for the guys to communicate week to week? And is that a point of emphasis to where it's something where teams are maybe getting you more when they do pre-snap motion, or is that something that maybe I'm not seeing correctly?
Yeah, of the things that we've had issues with from a motion standpoint, I'm not saying that there's never been an issue, and one's too many, but it's something you spend so much time on in this day and age in college football, and whether or not it's us, and I only go to our practices, but I assume as much other places spend so much time on motion adjust, whether it's shifts, motions, whether it's includes all of the above, whether it's empties to a formation into the boundary, all that stuff. And, ultimately in that moment it's having disciplined eyes and locking into your responsibility. Some of maybe the most frustrating ones that happen defensively is maybe that motion has no impact on you as an individual, and that's the individual that has an issue. They're saying, now, wait a second, that's just eye control by a certain member of the defense. But that's something you're constantly working on. I think there was one formation issue, jet motion in the boundary. They got the linebacker was supposed to take the back on the wheel concept. Safety's supposed to take the jet motion. Safety takes the jet. No one on the back. And I could tell you, but we got 500 snaps of doing it right on video, but we didn't get it done right there. But that's why offenses do it. And it's one of those things we talk to our guys about. They go tempo to mess with you. Why do they do unbalanced sets and make one? They got 5 eligible receivers. They make one of the receivers ineligible. It makes no sense to do that offensively other than to mess with you defensively. Why do they send a guy in motion and have him bubble 5 yards deep in the backfield? The only advantage that they gain in that is simply messing with you. And so it's our job to make sure that we don't allow that to happen.
We have time for one more, Myron.
Lincoln said that the tackling issues were guys weren't running the defense right, out of position. I mean, I don't want to make it sound simple. Did they relax with the offense having so much success the first couple of times? Or what?
We certainly have been guilty of that at times around here, and it's been a major focus point, frustration point. And one of the things we always say is our performance always matters. It always matters, regardless of what the scoreboard reads, whether we're up by 10, we're up by 20, whether the offense is having success or not having success. And so that's something that we have to be very conscious of, is making sure that we're all conscious enough about our careers that our performance matters as players and coaches. So I do think that's part of it. I think also are you giving into your feelings? If I as a defensive back get beat on the vertical concept and I can come to the sideline, make an excuse and say, well, it wasn't me. Inevitably, oftentimes something comes your way and it should be you. And so we got to make sure that our focus remains on the next play. Our focus remains on playing to the best of our individual ability, and then collectively we'll raise our game from there. But we got to make sure, again, our performance can be attached to the scoreboard. Our performance can be attached to the particular opponent that we play. We can't have, we play better when our backs are against the wall. All those things you can come up with is unacceptable, and something that you're never past. And clearly, we're unfortunately, proving that right now. You never check that box and say we never have to worry about that again, whether it's tackling or explosive plays or, having emotional reactions to scoreboards or plays that happened in the past. And we talk about responding a lot. Responding not based on how you feel, but based on what you need to do. We talk a lot about being the best version of you, and in order to do that, you got to respond to what's happening in an appropriate way. We're not responding real well right now, and that's something as a coach you got to look back at and say, how am I missing with this group? Being too positive, being too negative, and whether that's on the sideline during the game or in the week, prior to. But we have to respond a whole lot better.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks.